If you want to build a brand that raises capital, you need more than a nice logo and a slick pitch deck. PR and branding expert Amanda Samoyloff joins me today to explain the real foundations of investor-facing brand strategy and what most finance pros get wrong. A lot of entrepreneurs want to build a brand that raises capital, but most skip the strategy and jump straight to design. On today's episode, Amanda and I will help you build a brand that raises capital. Welcome to Fund Playbook. This is a show that's all about how to launch and raise capital for your very own private fund or real estate syndication. And we go live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Just hit that subscribe button to follow the show. I'm Jimmy Atkinson, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Amanda Samoyloff of Samoyloff PR. Amanda, what is branding anyway?
Hi, thanks for having me. Branding is just your public perception. It's what people see and recognize as your brand. So it's your front face, it's the aesthetics, it's your story, really just your reputation within the public. And
that's a great way to kick us off, I think, Amanda. And I owe you a bit of thanks because you helped Fund Playbook with our branding. We've been working together for, I think, a couple years. We met each other a couple years ago through a mutual colleague of ours, and you performed some great branding and strategy for us here at Fund Playbook. And we're off to the races. This is, I think it's episode number 21, if I'm not mistaken. So appreciate you helping us get launched. Within the context of a lot of the folks in our audience, entrepreneurs who are trying to syndicate a deal or they're raising capital for a private fund, within that financial space, how do you define brand there, and why is branding important within the financial industry, especially when it comes to raising capital from investors?
Sure. So from my POV, and just to give a background, I work really in people PR. So I really focus on betting on the jockey, not the horse, right? The reputation of the CEO or the founder, the person who's taking the charge. And so that's where this opinion is going to come from. I believe that having somebody that's trustworthy, exciting, really cares about the fund or the business in general, and is front facing. And listen, it doesn't have to be the founder. It doesn't have to be the CEO. If they don't have a unique story or like public image, or they don't want to do that, you could always bring in a representative that wants to be a part of it, or a co-CEO, or somebody that might be better in front of camera, right? But either way, you want somebody that you can have faith in, that they're going to go and hit the ground running, that they're going to go out there, go network, go do all the things that you can be like, yes, I back them. And I'm going to give money to them because I know that they care a lot and they're going to do everything they can to win. So from my perspective, I really focus on that founder. I really focus on what their storyline is, going deeper, right? Not just surface level. Hey, this is, how we're going to raise money. These are our values, but like, why do those values matter to that person? Creating a lot of trust there. And it really comes down to, being deeply vulnerable in some ways, right? And being like, this is why I'm doing this. This is why it matters to me. Because I believe that people connect there deeply, and giving money away is very vulnerable anyway, right? Like, you want to be able to trust this person that you're giving your hard-earned money from, right? Like, you're like, what are they going to do? How are they going to represent my money when it's out there? So that's really kind of the the juice, the red meat that we focus on, which is the founder or the jockey.
No, that sounds great. I had a question for you about that a little bit later in the show. Maybe we can go down that rabbit hole a bit more about how personal a brand should be. One of my pet peeves, by the way, is when I'm learning about a company and I go to their website and there's no pictures of any of the people there. There's no information about who's actually working at the firm. I want to know more about the team. I want to know more about the founder. I want to know more about the key executives. I agree with you, man. I think it's so critical to have a face of the brand who can get in front of the camera, who isn't shy about putting a headshot on a website and a little bio on the website, because you want to be able to familiarize yourself with people. And I think that's true of all brands, but it's particularly true in the world of financial and investment, where you're actually turning over a lot of your hard-earned cash to these people for in some cases a number of years, if not decades. Well, Amanda, let's zoom out a little bit, back up a minute. I want to learn a little bit more about you. You've never been on the show before. I told our audience you helped Fund Playbook with our branding strategy out of the gate, and we really appreciate that. And actually, we got a comment in from Angela, which I'll show on the screen right now. She says, "Amazing! I love the branding for Fund Playbook. Way to go, Amanda." Angela, thanks for attending today. Appreciate that. Amanda, who are you, though, and what is Samoyloff PR, and what does your firm focus on?
Oh, who am I? What a deep question. As far as the context to my business, I am a publicist. I've been working in the entertainment industry for 15 plus years in various degrees and modalities. But I really started in rock and roll. I was rocking and rolling up and down the Sunset Strip. So I really learned how to like create presence, with the lead singers and the events and really that kind of pizzazz. So in 2020, all of that kind of went to the wayside. I had my company Samoyloff PR, and I actually had a private equity fund manager come to me who was a friend for years, but she was just opening her fund out of Dallas. And she was like, "Hey, make me a rock star in private equity." I was like, "I have no idea about finance. I do not know." She's like, "You'll learn. You're fine." She's like, I want to be a rock star. I want to be cool. I want to make this more exciting." And so that was kind of the beginning of working in the financial industry and or different markets that I didn't really see a fit at first. But then I realized that like everyone deserves to be a rock star in their business, and everything can be really interesting if you dive down and figure out what your story is, what, unique value you offer to everybody, thought leadership, things like that. And that's just kind of what's been going on. And so like full circle moment, like I still do rock and roll and music. Interestingly enough, I have a client that's a wealth advisor that just started her own company or her own music genre called Fin Rock. So it's financial rock, and she created this album. So I'm working with this like rock star wealth advisor, but it's like came together in this awesome thing, and we're like working with Fender and just really cool stuff. So that's really where I'm at, and just a little bit about who I am. I'm essentially just trying to make everyone a rock star in their business. So
And speaking of rock stars, well, not a rock star exactly, but a sports icon, Mike Tyson. Yeah. I understand you just got through hanging out with Mike Tyson for his Going Public TV show in Las Vegas. How was it meeting Iron Mike in Vegas? And tell me a little bit about that.
So rad. It was so cool. I mean, it's Mike Tyson. And I've also like boxed for 12 years. So like for me, I'm like, yes. But anyway, yeah. So Going Public is a TV show on X Originals, right? And by the way, anybody that's sleeping on X, like you should get into that, because there's a lot of things coming into the purview like of what's happening, and it's a good place to be, I think, for a lot of things, even financially, right?
This show is streaming on X right now.
Oh, yay. See, yeah. I'm just like, yay, X. But yeah, I mean, there's investment opportunities. They're going to be doing a lot of trades and stuff like that through X. It's coming. So on the other side of things, Mike Tyson, yes, rad. Going Public is a TV series that streams on X. This was our season finale. I was brought in kind of late in the game, but very happy to be brought in at all. And Mike Tyson was signed. He kind of signed at the same time I did to come in as the host. And it was rad. And this TV show was the very first show in history that allowed the public from their homes live to invest in these companies. So there was 3 founders that were competing against each other, and you were allowed to invest. It's really cool. It's like the way of the future. So just a really interesting, great concept that I was able to be a part of.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm looking forward to seeing how that continues to unfold going forward. Financial branding. So it sounds like you got your start in financial branding kind of almost by mistake a little bit. A friend asked you to just kind of dive in head first. What have you learned about that world over the past few years? Baptism by fire, it sounds like.
I learned that it's difficult. I learned that there's a lot of I feel so much empathy for anybody raising money. That's what I'll say. I have seen people in the trenches, both actually like founders, but also people who are raising for their fund. And like, to get the money to actually come into the bank, I mean, that is such a big win and huge reward. And I understand how hard that is with all the due diligence and everything getting to that point. So, what I've learned is that you're rock stars. I mean, you're really working your ass off to try and get this money through into the banks. Another thing that I learned is that a lot of people, money has so much value behind it and driven with purpose. I think once people identify what drives their own values, that becomes a lot easier for money raising, right? Because they can talk from a place of conviction. Like, this is what matters to me. Like, this is what I'm raising this money for in this fund, especially, right? And I think that people can talk to that vulnerably, and it's really interesting, right? It's like a marriage. That's the thing I also realize. I mean, when somebody's investing in you, I mean, this is decades a lot of times that you're working with. So you should also vet who is you're getting money from, because some of them are going to be on the call a lot more than you think, and they're becoming your family in some way. So it is very, very inundated, and it's very, combined. It's a different world, but I really love it. It's cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. A lot of times I'm telling investors, particularly within the context of making investments into alternatives or other types of private funds, you need to do a lot of due diligence on the investment opportunity. You need to do a lot of due diligence on the firm. And maybe most importantly, you need to do a lot of due diligence on the team that you're investing with, the founder you're investing with, the operator that you're investing with, because you're getting in bed with these people for years, if not decades. It works the other way, though, too, right? It works the other way. The fund manager or the deal sponsor or the real estate syndicator, what have you, the person raising capital wants to make sure that his investor base isn't full of a bunch of crazy people or people that are going to be bothering them at weird times and or making weird demands. So you need to make sure, as a capital raiser, you need to know who your investors are also. I think that's pretty crucial. Well, let's talk about, how do you actually build a brand that raises capital? That's the title of today's show. When you sit down with somebody who's trying to raise capital, maybe it's an emerging fund manager or an established fund manager who wants to be made into a rock star, what are some of the first steps that you take with them to help them build a brand that can raise capital?
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, we clean everything up, right? Anything that's been posted, like even on X, longer than 2 years, go and delete everything, because people are going to look and see what you've posted before. And maybe you were controversial like 10 years ago, or maybe you posted something that was socially acceptable wording wise, and now it's not. Like, people get destroyed by like old tweets all the time, right? And so first and foremost, we go, okay, hey, do you have a Facebook? Do you have, Twitter? Do you have, whatever, Instagram? Go in there and archive stuff. Go delete or like hide like public posts that are like longer than 2 years old. That's just because they're going to do due diligence on you and see like what your political views are, which I'll get to in a second. But they're going to go and see like if you might have said something in the past that's going to hurt them in the future, right? That also being said, stay away from drama. Like when you're raising money, do not write or post about politics. I mean, I literally have told anybody and everybody, just stay away from it, because whether they believe you or they are on your side or they're not on your side, all they're going to see is that person is a loose cannon or unhinged because they're like yelling at people online about politics. Like, go away from that. Just stay away from that. That's like where the beginning is. It's really about that coaching. Like, how are you presenting yourself? These are like ways that like investors will quietly go, no, they're a little crazy, right? Figure out what your brand is, how you're representing yourself, what you decide you're going to post about. It's all very strategic once you start to go into the branding world, right? You're putting yourself out there, but you also have to be very, very particular about what you're going to be presenting as, right? Like, are you going to put your family in your post? Because now you're starting to get a lot more public. Do you even want that? So we really sit down and go, okay, what are you comfortable with? What are you not comfortable with? And then start to create these pillars of, what am I going to post about? What do I want them to see me as? After that, we kind of do a 360 review, right? So we're going to do like, some interviews with people around you, to figure out what the back of your head looks like because you don't know what it is, and ask questions. And this is all in house. This is us figure out your narrative, right? Your narrative is part of your brand. What is it that makes you tick? What is it that's going to make other people connect with you in a really vulnerable, cool way? We talk to like familial people, people that you've worked with, whoever you feel most comfortable with, right? And we ask questions and we figure out some cool stuff. A lot of the times, there's not a lot of times, all the time, we find out so many awesome things that people just don't talk about themselves. And then that's where we start to really craft the narrative of where the focal point of the brand's going to be, right? Like, where are you strategically placing yourself? Where are you connecting with people the most? Where are you going to have the most fun, right? Like, that's a big thing too, right? Are you going to be the type of person that's going to want to do written interviews or not? No? Okay, we're going to focus on the live kind of interviews, things that you're going to do. Do you not like to be on camera? Okay, we're going to focus on the written interviews. So this is really kind of like the big part of branding is us getting to know the person, right? It's a vulnerable situation. It's us, allowing them to feel deep, feel protected, to feel safe within the confines of our partnership and collaboration, that we will hear them, see them for their story and what they're providing to the public, and be able to take that and use that narrative to help them raise money.
That's
And
awesome.
so,
And you didn't mention color scheme, you didn't mention
oh,
logo,
yes.
you didn't
Okay,
mention
so
design,
okay, we're
and
gonna
which
go
is
there.
great, by the way, because I think so often so many people conflate branding with just the design part of branding. You think
Yeah.
of branding, you think of the Coca-Cola logo or the BMW logo or any of these Fortune 500 companies that you're so familiar with that you see commercials for all the time. Rolex, maybe, that has an iconic brand. You think of their logo instantly, but for an emerging fund manager who's trying to just raise a few $1,000,000 of capital, you don't have that power. What you do have is the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you come in and add a lot of value, is through your experience and your expertise is helping that firm, that emerging fund manager, that founder tell his or her story and turn him or her into a rock star, as you like to term it. And I think that is all about crafting the right narrative, crafting the right story around that person, right?
hmm Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, the branding, the color scheme, all that stuff, that comes secondary, really.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure out what it is that you are. And a lot of people don't go that deep at first. And so that's where we're like holding their hand, like, hey, we'll go in the trenches with you. Let's figure this out. It doesn't have to be that scary. It's actually pretty exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of people start to have a lot of fun there. They're like, whoa, okay, this is I have an awesome story. And in the day of AI, the best thing that you have and the thing that you provide is humanness, your authenticity, your story, your emotional, everything that's layered about who you are, is going to be your, golden ticket, I think.
Good. We had a couple of questions here that I wanted to get to. So let me show a couple of these comments up on the screen right now. This one comes from Audio Skills. This person comes to a lot of our live streams, so thanks again for showing up today. This person asks, how important is it that that person is an extrovert? Can an introverted founder do it? And this person's referring to the face of the brand. How important is it that the face of the brand is an extroverted person?
Well, that goes back to my, original thing that I said. Like, I mean, if you're an introvert, you're going to be still okay with doing like written interviews and stuff, and so you can still get the legacy placements and like interviews that are like not front facing. Although I would say you would at least want a spokesperson or somebody that's going to be able to do those big interviews. Because that's where you want to go, right? You want to go larger. I mean, unless you're like very boutiquey and you're smaller and stuff like that, that's fine. But I think you definitely will need some kind of extrovert in this experience.
Yeah, I've found that it comes in very handy if you can get in front of a camera, do some podcasts, do some live streams. I'm speaking, maybe I'm a little biased because that's how a lot of my brands have been built over the past few years, is I'm that founder. I don't know that I'm particularly extroverted, but I've just kind of learned how to get in front of a camera and in front of a microphone and talk words live like I am right now. It is helpful if you can have somebody that can be familiar with new media like this, or even traditional media. If you can get a spot on a more traditional television program. A couple other questions have come in, Amanda. I want to see if we can address them right now. This one comes from Robert Dykstra, who's a longtime follower of me and my programming. He asks, what do you do if you have a founder or maybe someone on the management team that have great experience in profitable projects, but have some judgments in the past? I guess maybe some checkered past is what he means there.
I mean, that's like the kind of crisis PR that's like creating and like sitting down and being like, okay, this is going to probably come up, these questions about this checkered past. So you are preparing what the answers are going to be. And typically it's ownership of that past. I always say hit it on the head, take away the gusto or the wave that they could put. Oh, look at what I found out about you. You're like, if you talk about it first, it takes away, like, especially media, right? They try to like have a hit piece. If you already are going to talk about something, then you take away all of their, their momentum. And we all have somewhat of a checkered past. Like there's certain things that people aren't going to like. But I think that again, that ownership and being vulnerable and being like, hey, this is something that did happen, or these are the things that happened, but this is who I am now. Cause like we're humans, right? We're growing, we're constantly evolving. And, people can't hold you to your past, but they can hold you to your future and how you're going to represent yourself now.
Good stuff, Amanda. Let's see. The questions keep on coming in. Keep them coming. This is why we do this live, is so we can interact in real time with our audience. This one comes in from Andrew Mason. Andrew asks, so basically Amanda's company would be able to clean up the optics of our brand, especially in commercial real estate and development, which I am starting to see negative stigma. And I think Andrew's referring to the fact that, in some parts of the country, developers or real estate investors may be vilified actually as those greedy rich people who charge too much in rent. So I think that's what he's getting at there when he says negative stigma. So can you address this question, Amanda?
What is the question exactly?
Is your company able to clean up the optics of someone's brand who does commercial real estate and development?
I mean, that's a general consensus if people just are mad at that. I think the way that you get away from or clean it up is by telling your authentic story and like show that you're a person. Like, where are you a human person? Because all they see is this greed and like this, monster up here just like building and doing too much rent. But if you like have your authentic story and then they can see you as somebody that they are, like a neighbor or whatever, you're creating trust and likability. And that's where you're going to have the most success, I would say, with not knowing exactly what you need to be cleaned up. If you could tell me more information, I might be able to have a better answer, but generally speaking, that's what
I would also say that you are never going to please 100% of the population. No matter who you are, you're going to piss off some people. A lot of people just turn you off. A lot of people will be apathetic toward you. But if you can curate a crowd of a good crowd of some fans or even some super fans who really know, like, and trust you and feel confident putting their hard-earned money with you, that's all you need, right? You don't need everybody to love you. In fact, a lot of people might end up hating you, but you can still be quite successful. Andrew did just chime in and said 100. So I think we got his, I think we understood his point and we answered his question properly. Thanks for the question, Andrew. And then a comment here from California United Soccer Club, which says clean social media and tons of social proof seems to be the way to go. I completely agree with that. I think it's absolutely critical for somebody who's raising capital to have social proof, have some sort of track record, have testimonials or have references for new investors to say, hey, who's invested with you before? Can I speak with some of your investors? They look at your website and they see that you're partnered with X, Y, and Z. That goes a long way. Amanda, anything else to add there?
No, I mean, obviously you want the proof, right? Like it's that's where you get trust, testimonials, people that have worked with you. Although it's hard if you're like just beginning to raise and you don't have that, that's where the story plot, like the storyline comes in and like all of that kind of initial branding to get you to get the money in the first place. But yeah, I agree.
What about common mistakes? Oftentimes what I see, at least in my industry, some of the clients I work with, they'll have great track records in real estate, doing real estate deals, developing multifamily or developing retail or operating commercial real estate, some facet of real estate operations, they have a great track record in. They know what they're doing. Once they cross over into this different sphere, which is raising capital for bigger real estate projects, there's a whole new skill set to learn, right? Because now you're not just operating real estate, you're also operating an alternative investment product or a financial services company even, and you need to raise capital from investors. You need to have investor relations, and you actually need to have a real brand now that resonates with high net worth investors. What are some common mistakes you see, Amanda, among that crowd of emerging fund managers who may know a lot about real estate but don't know a lot about the world of raising capital?
I mean, from my
Particularly
perspective,
when it comes to branding.
to branding,
Yeah.
I think be cool, right? Like, I mean, I'm coming from a rock and roll perspective, right? Be cool. Like, what are you posting about? Don't overpost. Oversaturating yourself is a big mistake. I think be strategic about what you're posting and make it high quality, right? You don't, some people you see like posting like 3 times a day and it's all just like very salesy. Like people don't want that anymore. They want to feel connected to you. What are you actually providing value wise? Like, don't talk at me. Answer some questions, like figure out how to be likable, but like amateur is over posting and just being not cool, right? Like be cool. I think also, you're playing with the big boys. So aesthetics are really important. I think how you present yourself, what you're dressed like, your production quality, especially when you're going into that bigger money avenues for raising. If you're putting a video up, make sure it looks great. You have your ring light or, your production. Make sure that you look presentable. Like you act like you've been there. It's like RuPaul was like, I always wore a suit everywhere I went, right? Like, because you're acting this part and people take you more seriously. So in those realms, and I mean, real estate people, I mean, of course they're all wearing suits and they're very presentable. And so I'm probably preaching to the choir here and maybe there's a lot of nods happening. Yes. But I would be really strategic about how much you're posting, what you're posting about, and why. Really think about it, because there's so much noise happening all the time and not as much value. And your brand needs to be very consistent about what your brand value is and stay on that line instead of going all over and chasing other brand narratives to get likes or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great point. I want to make one recommendation for my viewers and listeners out there is Barrett Lindbergh. You can find him on X. You can find him on LinkedIn. He's been a Opportunity Zones colleague of mine for several years. He's got a commercial real estate development firm in Dallas, Texas, and he posts regularly on both X and LinkedIn, and his posts are not salesy. They really help establish his thought leadership in the commercial real estate space. He does an amazing job of, I wish I had the ability to post as often as he does. I probably should take a page out of his playbook. I'm doing a little better, I think, on X and LinkedIn. But I can't quite catch up to Barrett because he posts so prolifically on there. Would really encourage everybody here to just check him out. BarrettLindberg, Barrett Lindbergh. I think that's key, is to use your social media accounts for discovery and for nurturing, not really for sales so much. You want to establish yourself as a thought leader. You want to position yourself as the expert in whatever arena you're the expert in. So maybe it's multifamily in Dallas, which is one of Barrett's specialties, or maybe it's strip malls in Western Michigan, or maybe it's office space in Honolulu. Who knows? Does anybody go to the office in Honolulu? I'm not sure. That was kind of a funny one. But whatever it is, kind of stick there for most of your posts, I would say. And to Amanda's point, don't overpost. Don't make it too salesy. Don't make it too cheesy. And above all, be cool and look good too when you if you're posting any videos. I think that's all great advice there, Amanda. Okay, what about We talked a little bit about what branding is and what comes first is the story, but what about the visual identity? What about the logos and the color scheme, and how much does that matter compared to all the other stuff? The
Oh, it
story in
matters.
particular.
It's huge. I mean, I have always been an advocate of aesthetic PR, is what I call it, right? It's your magazine. It's where they're coming. Like, they're going to go to your website. It better look really nice. In my opinion, or from my point of view, somebody like wants to be a client or something, I go directly to their socials and I go directly to their website. And if it's one, if they don't have a website, I'm like, okay, this is not for me. But like two, like it better look good, and it should also be current to the brands like the branding's constantly changing, so you're going to have to do brand refreshes all the time. You don't get It's not a one and done situation. Every 2 years you should be probably refreshing your brand in some way. Maybe not the logo, right? That could be like every 10 years maybe, but like the colors, maybe, oh, you know what, we're going to up these colors, we're going to change some stuff around our narrative, how that is presented. But it is so important, and it takes some time. I think that people are unaware of like how long it takes to pick fonts and pick colors and go, what is going to represent me the best and my audience the best. And you sit down. I mean, we work, Jimmy, right? Like we sat there and we were like, for even this color, the color scheme and the fonts, we went back and forth, because we're like, well, what is this? Like, what are we trying to get out there, and is it like something that people want to see, which is what we did, right? But it's sitting there going, okay, what are the words? Is it we want to emulate confidence? Do we want to emulate tranquility, calmness, all of those things? And honestly, chat gpt would probably be a helpful advocate for you, I guess, advocate, whatever, assistant, and be like, these are the words that best describe the business values and who we are as a brand. What kind of colors and why? Ask it deep, be like, and give us deep reasoning for what colors would be the best and things like that. And then for fonts and stuff, like there's a lot of multiple different font websites that you can go and play and look at stuff. But I would go through it, be like, do we want it to be bulky and blocky? Do we want it to be like calm and cursive? And really think about it and have fun. I mean, it's really important. It really is your trademark. It's what people are going to visually see and then equate it to your business, right? And so in everyone, that's what we're doing. We're constantly visual. We're very much like scrolling. We're seeing stuff. So it needs to be able to something to catch their eye that they go, oh yeah, that's their brand.
I
That's their
would stay
representation.
away. I would stay away from Comic Sans. That's my only
Yeah.
recommendation when it
Yeah.
comes to fonts.
Yeah. Please do it. Yeah.
Whenever I'm speaking with my wife or my business partner, Andy, about ChatGPT, I always refer to ChatGPT as my assistant. Oh, my assistant helped me draft this. It makes it a little bit more personal. I like that. I think that's fine. I think ChatGPT is great and can definitely help with some of these exercises. Amanda, what is one thing that every fund manager should fix today when it comes to their branding? Is there a single high ROI branding tweak that you would recommend?
Um,
Really
I
putting
would
you on the spot
probably,
here.
yeah, I'm like, what? What I see in this particular world is that everyone is a little bit boring, right? And I would tweak that. I would say, what are pops of color? What different kind of fonts that we can use in order to stand out?
That's why we use teal at Fund Playbook. I
Yeah,
wanted to go with blue or black, and I think you and Andy said, "What about something pink or teal, something fun?"
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, we definitely were like, no, this is what, because it's just the day and age, right? Like I think, attention spans and stuff, you need to stand out. And yeah, I would say your aesthetic branding is really important. And also your photographs, your headshots, they should be lifestyle, they should be great. Like, like really focus on how you're representing yourself and how your brand is aesthetically. I think that's the easiest fix. And also cleaning up your socials, like clean it up, make it consistent, but like delete stuff that doesn't look good. Like go in there and clean up. It's like sometimes I scroll through things and it's like, this is Instagram from like 15 years ago, some of these posts. Like if you have that on there, just don't have anything. Just clear it all off. Like there's no reason to have that stuff up there. It looks amateur.
No, I think that's great. Let's go to the questions. We got time for a couple more questions, and then I'll cut you loose, Amanda. We'll have to have you on again, a future date, to see if we can go down the rabbit hole of branding and PR a little bit more. We didn't even talk about PR on this episode. Maybe we'll do that on the next one. But this one comes from Robert Dykstra. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one, but he asks, what do you think about raising money on platforms like Republic, where I do not have a chance to verbally interact with investors unless they let you do a video? So I guess I'll answer this one first, Robert, and then Amanda, if you have any additional thoughts, chime in. Robert, I would say it's always, I'm not familiar with Republic, but I know that there are a lot of crowdfunding platforms out there. There's a lot of capital raising platforms on there that you can get your investment product in front of. OpportunityZones.com is one of those for the Opportunity Zones industry. That's my platform. We help fund managers in that space raise capital. We always do video format. We think that that's the most effective way to get in front of an audience, is to host a live online event. I mean, unless it's in person. In person's even better, I would say. But if we're talking about an online format, I would say video is always preferred. It sounds like this is just some listing on a website, and maybe that listing gets promoted in certain ways, maybe via their social media channels, maybe via email. I think that's fine, honestly. I wouldn't dismiss that out of hand. I would say if you can do a video with it, or if there is the ability to do a live video, that's even better. But that particular one I'm not too familiar with. But Amanda, what are your thoughts in terms of getting your firm's investment product, whether it's maybe it's a fund, let's say, maybe it's a real estate fund, putting it out there now outside of your website, but on external platforms, external websites, maybe events that you don't host and control, but that you're presenting on? Any tips there, or what do you think about that?
I think video is correct. I mean, if you can have a video of you like doing your pitch or whatever, I think that's a great place to have it curated perfectly. If you can't really pitch live, also like a one sheet that has all that stuff. But right now, video's it.
Yeah. Nobody wants to read anymore. They're just here for the YouTube stuff. It's more fun to watch TV, right?
They don't mind the subtitles. They're like, because they can read it there, but they want to see vision. Yeah, they want to see movement.
I love the closed captions. They're making a comeback. Okay,
they are. They're actually being rewarded. Actually, so if you have the closed captions on your videos on Instagram, the algorithm is rewarding that, so you're going to get more views. By the way, so use closed captions on all of your videos.
Yeah, I do when I can. I confess that I don't do it for all my videos due to time constraints on my behalf, but I agree with you that it's better to have them than to not have them. And I think I agree that it does provide an algorithm boost on Instagram and on YouTube as well, I would believe. So, all right, This one comes from Angela. I think this is our last question we'll get to today, and then we'll close down, and we'll have you back for another episode at some point down the road, Amanda. Angela asks, how important do you think it is that a fund manager is present on all social media platforms versus choosing one or two and being super active and consistent? So do you need to be on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and X and LinkedIn and Twitch and the 14 others that I've forgotten their names? Or should you really just focus on one or two at a time? What are your thoughts there, Amanda?
I mean, it depends on what your business is. I think everyone should be active on LinkedIn if they're raising money. Absolutely. YouTube and X are, from my information that I have, those are going to be the biggest platforms as far as getting stuff out. So I would say of the three, like all of those, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, you should definitely be on if you're a fund person. And then Instagram is fun, it's creative. If you have a business where, you're raising money and real estate, I mean, you should be on Instagram because that's more of a place where you can be a little bit more personal and stuff like that. But I think that those are the four that you should definitely be on. And then, I don't think you need to be on 15. unless it makes sense. But a lot of these all stream together, right? Like you're streaming from all three right now, right?
Yeah,
YouTube.
we're live streaming right now. I mean, assuming it worked. I never really know till afterwards. But I see we've got a lot of viewers here. We're live streaming right now, multi-streaming to YouTube, LinkedIn, and X.
Yeah, and so it's really the integration there is fantastic, but each one is different, right? Instagram is like, here's like my life behind the scenes, kind of like this is more familial, like, oh, my friends and family and get to know me. LinkedIn is going to be business. People are going to want the tips and all of that stuff. And I believe that, Twitter is more like real time, like what's going on today, like this second, like very instant, like used to be like Instagram used to be instant. That's the X is. And then YouTube is everything. I think you can do anything and everything from that.
Yeah. My 2 cents, if I may, I like LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. Those are my 3 favorites for the financial industries, for raising capital. I think those are your 3 most powerful. YouTube is probably the highest barrier to entry because you actually need to produce video content. Whereas on LinkedIn and X, if you have a keyboard, you can start, or a mobile phone, right? You can just get on there and tap out something or type out something and instantly have presence there. YouTube's a little bit higher barrier to entry, but at least start on LinkedIn and Twitter and then add YouTube when you can. That's my 2 cents. By the way, that's where Barrett focuses his time. I mentioned him a moment ago. He's on X and LinkedIn. Those are his 2 primary channels. So, Amanda, great stuff today. This was awesome. I can't wait to have you back for a future episode down the road. We're out of time for today, but thanks for joining me today. This has been awesome.
It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for our audience out there, today was our last live stream for a few weeks. We're going to take a summer hiatus, but we're going to return in August with brand new live streams every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you enjoyed today's episode, give us a like, hit that thumbs up button. By the way, Fund Playbook is now also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just search for Fund Playbook on the app or visit fundplaybook.com and click the Apple or Spotify button. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll be back soon with another episode.